Hi there, and this is our update on the Changing Treescapes project, which is part of the Landscape Decisions programme, and we're doing an update on the effect that COVID has had on our project and planning the project. So Changing Treescapes is making visible the cultural values at risk from tree pests and diseases through arts approaches, and you can see the team listed there. We've had a bit of an evolution of our project aims. COVID and other issues such as the highlighting of the Black Lives Matter movement, and also climate change becoming ever more pressing. We've evolved from talking about including culturally and ethically diverse groups to using this term of inclusivity to reach new publics. So being as inclusive as possible for both human and non-human voices, so trying to pick out those quieter voices in our world. And we were originally going to be doing this in both urban and rural settings, but now we are focused on an urban setting in Manchester, to understand the perceptions and treescapes and green spaces there, and Manchester as a place that our co-investigator and socio-environmental artist Kerry has had experience working in. And as before, we're going to explore how insights on the cultural values at risk from tree pests and diseases might be translated and more effectively integrated into a policy relevant framework, so working with policymakers on that. And we do there talk about tree pests and diseases, and we were originally focusing on oak and ash because of the pests and diseases that they suffer from. But we also, given time to think about this, thought that it might actually be better to talk more widely about treescapes and green spaces, and perhaps work with those that are more relevant to the publics that we engage with, rather than two species in particular. We have a new aim of understanding the role of arts in helping to bring out those cultural values and perceptions of treescapes and really understand them. And this is a picture of Whitworth Park in Manchester, where we are hoping to work over the summer months. You can see there's quite a few trees in there, and yeah, we're hoping to meet there as a team quite soon, so that's exciting. And some changes in the methods. So originally we had one artist on the team, which is Kerry, who's also our co-investigator, and we're now working with five artists in total, so another 4. Yeah, and we think that's great, and it's been amazing to be able to accommodate more artists and different methods and practices into the project. But those other 4 artists aren't quite as deeply involved as Kerry, as she has been very fundamental to the project all the way through. So in terms of how we're diversifying the artistic methods that we're working with, so as we originally planned, we're hoping to do the performative happening that Kerry does, and also I'm hoping to do a bit of storytelling. So we're hoping come August that's still going to happen. But then we're also diversifying with the other artists into creating a Treescapes audio walk and a WhatsApp engagement activity toolkit. And this has stemmed from an artist that we'd seen in Manchester who'd created something called a Park Portals activity guide for a previous project, and it looks very suitable to what we're doing. So we're now working with her and her colleagues, or other artist colleagues, to develop that for our own methods. And then Kerry also has activity cards that she uses sometimes with engagement, so we're going to try the use of those as well. And we are one of the artists we're working with happened quite organically actually, and she works with a British Arab women's group, and so we're going to work with them in the park using some of the activity cards and using this Treescapes audio walk and some of the activities on there. So we've had to be a little bit more targeted in our approach, and originally we were thinking of how can we use online methods to work with people, and we were inspired by the Landscape Decision event on coping with COVID last autumn, which was useful for brainstorming ideas for online engagement. So this toolkit, audio walk toolkit, and the activity cards, and directly working with a specific group through an artist is how we've been adapting to that online work. But as things are opening up, we're hoping that there can be more face-to-face work there, and that actually WhatsApp might not be needed, but it's good to have that as an option in case it is. So the artist there, Jessica, is going to meet with the group and do those activities in the park, which is really good. But obviously it's been limiting in that it's not allowed us to be as inclusive in gathering a variety of public's perceptions, because we've had to be more targeted in that way. And then another positive that's come out of engaging with Jessica is, and how we found out about her actually, is through an art site that she created on the Forest of Cultures project at Grisdale Forest, with a group that she worked with there. So we're going to use the art site with their permission that we've got to translate the outputs on that website, the art site, for a policy audience. So we're going to test how we can do that. And that's a picture of the front page of the art site, so it's a bit like a scrapbook, and you can click on any of these pictures and they take you through to another page that's about something about how that group interacted with Forest and what impressions and memories came up for them. So we're going to be analysing that. And this is a picture of Kerry doing her performative, one of her performative happenings, and we're hoping to do something similar to this in the Whitworth Park later in summer. So we've also had a change in our outputs because of those methods that I've just described. So this is diversified into a range of things. So we're hoping now to develop a toolkit for the specifics of working with artists on a research project, and for that we're going to be doing some interviews of artists on their experiences and writing that into the toolkit, and their ideas for taking that forward and progressing work with artists. And then we've also got some more diversified papers that are going to come from the work. So we've got one focused on public interactions with trees and green spaces, and another on transversality and eco-art practices for transformative change in society through the utilisation of it on research projects. So this idea of transversality being a much more inclusive approach beyond the trans and multidisciplinary, and incorporating the non-human voices and the quieter voices, and also the different ways of knowing and understanding. And then, as I was saying before, we've got Treescapes audio walk and WhatsApp engagement activity toolkit that's going to be developed and can be used beyond the project for people to engage in green spaces. And then we're going to have the art site policy focused analysis, and then we're also going to have some policy briefs on the public's perceptions of treescapes and use of arts methods in research projects, the first policy brief, which was planned in originally. And this is an example of a page from the park portals that was developed on the project. And this future features idea, I just thought it was really nice for imagining and envisioning with communities and publics around what they might want future green spaces to look like, especially given that there are tree pests and diseases that might affect the current trees in the park. But this is a nice positive way to frame it and to encourage them to think about and to be able to capture really their thoughts around what they would like, and feed that through to policy to see how can we make that happen. So in summary, COVID has been restrictive in our ability to engage face-to-face so far, but it has positively challenged our original framing of the project and has given us space to reflect on our approach and practice, widening our awareness of participant involvement and diversifying our approaches, methods, practices and outputs. So we have been able to take some positive things from it so far, and it's been a bit of a payoff between face-to-face engagement and trying to find ways to work online, but we're now hoping that we can also do at least some of the face-to-face engagements later in summer. And that's a photo of me storytelling with the group, so I hope to be able to do some storytelling too. So thank you very much, and just to say that we're really inspired by in the Landscape Decisions meeting these quotes about artists' involvement and critical perspectives and how they can work for more diverse and inclusive research projects. Thank you very much. That's the Treescapes COVID update.